Hi, in today's video I am showing you the first 7 paintings from the 100-day project. This year I've decided to limit what I use, and the power of limitations is really valuable. So I decided to work with black and white and 1 dot of red. So in the black and white, it means I can use anything, whether it be collage or pencils, pens, paint, graphite, you name it, but I'm just doing it without color. And the other thing is I'm trying to keep it simple, have it to do with lines, simple marks, some pattern, and just exploring. If you're new to my channel, I'm Pat from Scribner Art and Design, and I love sharing my knowledge with you. If you have any questions or comments, please do leave them. I'm happy to answer. If you enjoy my videos and would like to support me, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link below. I would appreciate any tip that you can leave that would help support me to continue on doing these videos for you. At the end of the video, I have put the 7 paintings up individually so that you can see them in a mat, and I would be interested in knowing if you have a favorite. They're not all the greatest, but it's about showing up. Enjoy the video. I'm using a Japanese calligraphy brush and some India ink to make my first initial mark. I'm going to do the first week, 7 of them, just with this India ink on the background as my first mark. That way it'll give it a chance to dry. It does take a while for India ink to dry, and it will allow it to dry and set up, and also I'll only have to clean my brush once and not get the ink out every day. So not thinking about this, just trying some different marks and trying to stay as loose as possible. I am holding the brush near the end, so I have a little less control. It has quite a nice pointy tip. You can get a nice fine line. Or a thicker line, depending on how you manipulate and move it. So I think this is a good thing about practice and trying out different ways of using a single brush. So here I'm on day 1 and I'm adding some collage. So this collage is on stone paper and you can't tear it, so I have to cut it. And what this was before was a portrait I had done on the stone paper using ink as well. And what you see in this kind of scratchy marks was actually the hair from this portrait. And I'm sorry I cut it up before thinking that it would be something that would be interesting to show you. So that's where this collage paper comes from. So I'm just trying to work on this to bring some interest and balance into the mark. So the first initial mark is just something very spontaneous and something to respond to. So I'm going to glue these down. I'm using a color shaper brush here and some matte medium. Now, I'm also working on a magazine. This is a great way of keeping the glue off your table, and when the magazine gets mucked up, you just turn the page and continue. So now instead of putting it right on the actual paper, I put the glue down on the surface of the paper. My paper is 6 by 6 inches, and it's a mixed media paper by Strathmore. I'm bringing some white in now to just let go of some of this. So white is your eraser. Now I wouldn't have to use white, but in this case I decided to, and I'm scratching back into it with a bamboo skewer. I'm treating this 100-day challenge as a playful exercise. Here I'm coming in with some collage paper. This is something I made with deli paper, so it's very thin. The deli paper is transparent, and I've used a stencil on it to create pattern. I'm using a catalyst wedge to really push any air bubbles out of that and make sure it's sealed down to the surface. This one is lifting up a bit. I'm just going to reattach it there. Having a working mat is helpful to be able to see your composition and kind of decide if it feels finished or if it needs any more details. So in this case, I've decided to come back in and put a bit of line going the opposite direction. And I'm just using a Sumi ink marker here, and I think it is water soluble as well, so I'll have to be cautious of that. So I think I'm liking this composition now, and the final thing I'm going to do is put a red dot on, and I'm using my finger and some cadmium red paint, and I've decided to just put one red dot as a focal point. This is day 2, and I've decided to again use my marker and just doodle. Doodling can be so much fun, and if you are like me, you have spent a lot of time doodling way back when in school, in the margins of my scribblers. There's a reason they're called scribblers. So I did a lot of doodling on the side, and I think doodling is something that creates relaxation. So I've pulled out some more of this stone paper. Again, this is part of the hair from the portrait that was done on it. And I'm cutting it into a shape that I feel is compatible with the piece. So we're always striving for balance. The thing about using some collage is that it gives you the ability to be moving your papers around and finding the right paper. So this one looks better to me. It's got a little bit more visual weight to it. So not to overwhelm myself, I've put a little bowl of papers out that are black and white and some text. I just don't want too much to rifle through to find what I'm looking for. So I'm keeping my collage elements very simple. So I'm going to seal over top of this as well. And it did lift up some of that ink that was on there. It did smudge a bit. So this is one of the downsides of using the inks, Chinese ink and India ink, is they're not as stable. Again, using the working mat to just look at the composition. And I'm just coming in with some white paint here to tidy it up and clean up some of the marks of the ink that got spread around. So I'm looking at this to kind of get an idea of if it feels complete enough to me and where I might put my red dot. So I have a bit of a paint skin here, so acrylic paint that I pulled off my palette. And you could use this as well if you wanted a sharp line. But I'm just using it as a guide to decide where to place it. And I am going to continue using my little finger dipped in the cadmium red and making an organic type of circle. This is day 3. I have a very organic shape that's filling up a lot of my space on this paper. And as I'm working in a series, I think it's nice to have something that is similar. So I am trying to continue using this same collage paper. And coming back in here with those doodle marks again, the ovals, small circles. This creates pattern and interest and variety because we have a big shape. So now it's giving us some small shapes within a shape and pattern. So the pattern can be important to just, bring some interest. So I am adding some lines down from this paper, just extending it down into the circle of the first marks. Whether this is right or wrong or will work, I have no idea. And I'm not so concerned about that as just staying playful and following my intuition, trying some things out. If I continue doing this for 100 days, it may give me some results that I might want to move forward on a larger canvas. But that's not even what's important. The important thing is to practice and to try different things. So again, using the mat to isolate it and give it a border. I'm deciding I'm going to bring those oval shapes down further. My pen isn't working as good as it should. I think it's starting to run out of ink, but just doing a little bit more and bringing out the ruler. And adding some more line. So I have an organic shape and then adding some linear elements can make it feel different. You want to make sure that you don't kind of divide your space in half when you're doing that. So just trying to figure out where that bit of red should go in this composition. I'm not really liking this one as much. But again, these are fast studies and I don't want to dwell on them for too long. So now I'm on the next one. And I've got some text here just from a magazine. I love using text. And this is some of that paper again. So using cut up text from magazine, I like to cut it so that you can't read the word, but it just becomes an element. So I'm either looking for a black underground with white text, or vice versa, a white background with black text. And I'm looking for bold shapes when I do that. So with this one, I've eliminated the text for now, and I'm going with this other scratchy collage paper, trying to find the right thing. And again, this is all from the hair of the portrait. So I think that piece is going to look better turned around. It talks better to the shape on the other side when it curves in instead of out. Today I'm using a brush to apply my matte medium as glue, but you can use a scraper, a brush, whatever works. Here I'm just pushing it down with my finger. Checking it out in the viewfinder and deciding about where that little bit of red might look best. And again, I am not wanting to spend too much time doing this. So this one has quite a bit of black on it, and I'm trying to find the best position. Should I kind of break into that black, cover some of it up? Do I want something horizontal, vertical? And the line of the marks can also be important. So you don't want to spend too much time dwelling on it, and you just want to tap into your intuition, make the best choice, do what feels right at the time. You may look at it later and say, oh, it would have been better if, but that's part of the learning process. I'm going to try some of the text and see if I like how that looks. So this is white on the black, provides a strong graphic element. Just gluing on top of part of that shape. Now repetition is good, so sometimes I like to add more than one of the same thing, but not identical. So in this case, I'm making the shape smaller. So it's important to have variety in your shapes. You want to have small shapes, medium shapes, and large shapes. A nice way to remember that is thinking of the three bears. Now just checking to see where this bit of red would like to live on this particular piece. And again, 1, 2, 3. So this one is a bit interesting, and I forgot to put the record button on when I started. But what you see here is some more of that same collage paper with the hair. And if you look closely, you'll see that there's an eye from the portrait. in the center of that. It seemed to just fit well amongst the curved line there. It may not be as recognizable if it's not pointed out, kind of a mystery shape. So trying some white background with black text on this one. Now I think that worked quite well at the bottom, now looking back at it, but at the time I made the decision to glue it at the top. So it ended up making my design feel a little bit more symmetrical. So again, don't be harsh on yourself if you wish you would have done something different. Just accept it as a practice and a way to learn, and learn from your mistakes. This is a very intuitive way of composing and not overthinking things. Get out of your own way, as they say. So again, just coming in with that mat to check it out and decide where that little bit of red splash is going to go. Just going to make this a little bit of a smaller shape. Moving it around, trying to find what I feel is the best spot for it at this point. So there we have that one. This one has a very Zen-like, simple feel to me. And I'm going to put down some more of this stone paper collage that had the hair on it from the portrait, so a lot of scratchy lines. I'm putting it off to one side, trying to preserve my first marks that I put down. I'm going to consider putting some of this text in a place. So again, just brushing some matte medium on, and I could use a pair of tweezers here. Sometimes having licking your finger and picking it up works as well. The little pieces are the tedious ones, that is for sure. Checking it out with the mat, seeing what other elements it might need. So looking for the perfect piece now, trying some different elements to see what really strikes my fancy here. Okay, I'm liking this over here. I think I will commit to that. Maybe just cut it down and trim this white edge off. Now I think it's time to look at the spacing for the red dot. I think I'm going to go in a very large area of negative space. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the best spot. And again, 1, 2, 3, and a little red dot. And here the whole group is together. And I hope that you enjoyed this and that perhaps you have a favorite that you could leave in the comments.